The mainstream Kiwi journalist looks with satisfaction upon his or her article, title of which reads, "Rising Tide of Child Violence in New Zealand." Good to go. All he or she needs now is an appropriate stock photo to accompany the text. Here we go. This generic picture looks ideal for thousands of New Zealand students stood down or suspended for physically assaulting peers each year. Entirely appropriate snap for an article on retail crime costing more than $2.6 billion a year. Pakeha mums from the leafy suburbs being the main demographic when it comes to flogging booze. New Zealand's most stolen car for 2023. The ones highly preferred by white men who break into cars, that is. 1 in 5 child abuse cases in New Zealand, and family and friends were aware of the violence but didn't report it. Look at those blue eyes, that will tug a few heartstrings. The public, they've moved on from the murders of Chris and Crew Kahui, Nia Glassy and Baby Roo. Child welfare, cost of living, low wages fuel youth crime. If there's one sector of society you immediately think about, afflicted by all those societal ills, it's got to be the Chinese. Oh, come on, encounter an archetypal New Zealand homeless person sitting on a footpath. My bet is it will be a white bloke donning a jacket that is in great need of a dry clean. One who looks exactly like the average attendee at Addington Cup Day, come race 7. Weight loss should be funded. Surely whiteys can afford their own stomach stapling. And how do these fat people even become fat when they never have heads? Speaking of which, I feel sorry for the gangs in New Zealand. Many of them are not just born without faces, limbs as well. Well, where was I? Oh, that's right, negative stereotyping. Mental health crisis. Perhaps this crisis afflicting European New Zealanders could be the result of constantly being made the whipping boys in the media? ? Schools struggling to deal with sexual violence. Europeans, for example, being portrayed as the lead protagonists in schools up and down the land. More than half the students not attending school regularly. If only Pakehas could attend school a bit more often, it would give them a better chance of getting a decent job. Failing that, they could at least get a few extra years in the corridors assaulting other students. Start working their way up the societal rungs by studying sciences in the same ratios as other ethnicities. Slow death of sciences by aversion to excellence. Studying science at all? You wouldn't think so, looking at this photo. Having the overbiting guilt to deal with in the form of socio-economic hardship leading to premature deaths in South Auckland. The burden perhaps of carrying your Anglo-Saxon mate's coffin from the Mangere Baptist Church perhaps. Seems credible. Cough to himself. Checks the colour of the sky. Demand from whiteys is also, why do fast food outlets dominate our poorest suburbs? Got to be why overwhelmingly it's Pakehas that have shit teeth. Try googling it yourself. Severe tooth decay affecting New Zealand kids, caused by parents who can't be asked getting their children off to the dentist, and by exclusion we are meant to conclude other ethnicities in New Zealand aren't the main cause. Are by default behind most sexual violence because sexual violence in New Zealand goes vastly underreported. It's amazing European New Zealanders have the energy to assault others, steal cars and stuff burgers down their gobs, given they are so strung out. Inside New Zealand's meth crisis. All these reports in the media are now making sense. Little wonder child poverty has worsened when the majority ethnic population, European Kiwis, are so front and centre in every unfavourable article, overrepresented to the extreme. Look at this poor little bugger, the legacy of colonialism, I suspect. If one of his parents had have been brown, he'd be off holidaying in Fiji, advertising companies would be chasing him, and he wouldn't be in this picture. More and more, I'm coming to the conclusion it's a miracle there's any white people in this country at all, since New Zealand babies dying of syphilis. Type 2 diabetes slowly rising in Auckland kids. Pacific and Maori have highest rates. Hold on a tick, that looks like a European girl to me. Of course it is. That's because it's a negative article. Fetal alcohol syndrome, major issue in the far north. A part of the country where you immediately think of the same lady that stole the bottle of wine from before. A small region of the world, like that island in the Indian Ocean, no one has a cell phone or the internet, has uploaded a picture of what people look like onto the net. To date, never been visited by anyone working for a newspaper. Why don't I continue to type something unfavourable, negative, into Google News site New Zealand, see what turns up at the top of the pile in the New Zealand media, a non-Pacific term like, say, drowning or swim safe, and turns up this one. More drowning. Between syphilis, obesity and vaping, all of which have led to Europeans having the lowest life expectancy in New Zealand. I haven't covered smoking and vaping. Let's do that one then. Vaping 1. Vaping 2. The rescinding of the smoking legislation is killing our white people, I tell you. Ramp it up a tad. Look at youth crime. Down to you-know-who. We all see the Ramraid videos, don't we? Even this article on Maori youth crime, in an Orwellian 1 + 1 = 3, down to whiteys. Weird, I know. Help, you'd think the mainstream media had an agenda of some sort or another. Are being outright malicious. Stock photos for the perpetrators of child sexual abuse in New Zealand. Not just more often than not, white men. Always. I could, of course, drag this one out, but by now you get the general gist. Have likely shaken your own head at this pernicious, but yet oh so obvious practice, where, when there's an adverse headline, European New Zealanders are painted disproportionately as the perpetrators of every social ill, from shoplifting at Woolies to early deaths in South Auckland. What is the Kiwi Fourth Estate trying to achieve here? Their agenda, the end game, other than displaying a contempt for their readership, majority of which are the very same people they go out of their way to mock, treating their customers like chumps, adding baby oil to the slippery slide to their irrelevancy. Are they blind? Readers have become tired of being preached to. Would like, shock horror, balance, facts at a stretch, popping, say, a photo of an Indian, Maori or Polynesian to perhaps accompany an article to do with crime statistics. This people goes well beyond gaslighting, engaging deliberately in false narratives, bordering on an exercise in self-deletion. For example, this is an article about a link between Samoan obesity and epigenetics, and a photo of individuals that are clearly not Polynesian. Those bad guys again, the very same ones that buy newspapers. With 400,000 Polynesians in New Zealand, and 7 out of 10 adults, of which are obese, they can't exactly be short of local photos. Insisting journalist in your employ twist reality is creepy, malignant. Okay, I've vented my spleen, and tell me what you think in the comments, and try and keep it civil. Also, expect a follow-up video and something else that sticks in my craw. How Google, in a similar fashion, surreptitiously and deliberately distorts not just what is reality as we see it, what we know of as true, much like the mainstream media in New Zealand, also what is in our history books on written pages, which are gradually being replaced by online content as the main source of information, past and present. You may have spotted that Google's algorithm favours photos and history featuring a diverse range of people. And I'm not talking AI here, old-fashioned Google. For example, what you and I would term or call a Kiwi hero. Those are being deliberately replaced. And Sir Edmund Hillary, for example, appears at number 63 in the Google image search for Kiwi hero. 5 photos below Jacinda Ardern, 8 behind the bloke who tackled the Linwood Mosque gunman. Go ahead and try the search for yourself. And before you go, it would pay to see if you're a Nazi first, I think, by taking the test in this video. I bet you fail. Bye for now.